When a document signer claims they lost their ID but shows you a photocopy of their driver's license, what is the proper course of action? A. Accept the photocopy since you can verify their face matches. B. Refuse the notarization as photocopies are not acceptable identification. C. Have them sign an affidavit attesting to their identity. D. Accept it if they also provide a credit card. 2. When developing a training curriculum for new notaries, which adult learning principle is most effective? A. Lecture-based instruction with minimal interaction. B. Experiential learning with real-world scenarios. C. Memorization of statutes without context. D. Passive observation of experienced notaries. 3. A signer appears before you without proper identification but claims to be your neighbor. What is the appropriate action? A. Proceed with the notarization since you recognize them. B. Accept their verbal assurance of identity. C. Refuse the notarization until proper identification is presented. D. Have another person vouch for their identity informally. 4. Which of the following is not an acceptable form of identification under Wyoming notary law? A. Valid U.S. passport. B. Wyoming driver's license. C. Social security card. D. Military identification card. 5. When evaluating a notary student's competency, which method provides the most comprehensive assessment? A. Written multiple choice exam only. B. Combination of written exam, practical demonstration, and scenario analysis. C. Self-assessment questionnaire. D. Attendance record review. 6. What is the required journal entry retention period for Wyoming notaries? A. 3 years after the last entry. B. 5 years after the last entry. C. 10 years after the last entry. Permanently. 7. In curriculum development for notary education, which component should be addressed first? A. Assessment methods. B. Learning objectives aligned with regulatory requirements. C. Selection of textbooks. D. Scheduling of classes. 8. A document presented for notarization is in a foreign language you don't understand. What should you do? A. Notarize it anyway since you only verify identity. B. Refuse the notarization. C. Have someone translate it verbally. D. You may notarize if you can communicate with the signer about the document and confirm their understanding. 9. Which communication technique is most effective when mentoring a struggling notary student? A. Immediate criticism of errors. B. Active listening followed by constructive feedback with specific examples. C. Comparison to other successful students. D. General encouragement without addressing specific issues. 10. When a Wyoming notary moves to a different state but maintains employment in Wyoming, they A. Automatically lose their Wyoming commission. B. Must surrender their seal within 10 days. C. May continue serving as a Wyoming notary if employed in Wyoming. D. Need to obtain dual state commissions. 11. When designing evaluation rubrics for notary practical exams, which criterion is most critical? A. Speed of completing the notarization. Adherence to legal requirements and proper procedures. C. Penmanship quality. D. Personality and demeanor. 12. A signer asks you to backdate a notarization to last week. This request is A. Acceptable if the signer provides a good reason. B. Acceptable with written authorization. C. Strictly prohibited and constitutes fraud. D. Allowed if noted in the journal. 13. Which regulatory compliance document must Wyoming notaries file with the Secretary of State? A. Monthly activity reports. B. Oath of office and bond. C. Client satisfaction surveys. D. Continuing education certificates. 14. In adult learning theory, what is the primary motivation for adult learners in notary training? A. Obtaining credentials for prestige. B. Problem-centered learning for immediate application. C. Social interaction with peers. D. Pleasing the instructor. 15. What is the minimum bond amount required for Wyoming notaries? A. $500. B. $1,000. C. $2,500. D. $5,000. 16. When mentoring a new notary who made an error in their journal, which approach is most effective? A. Public correction in front of other students. B. Private discussion explaining the error and demonstrating the correct method. C. Ignoring minor errors to build confidence. D. Requiring them to restart their training. 17. Which element is not required in a proper notarial certificate? A. Notary's signature. B. Notary's commission expiration date. C. Signer's social security number. D. Notary's official seal. 18. When developing communication strategies for diverse learners, which accommodation is most important? A. Using only technical legal terminology. B. Providing multiple formats and examples to address different learning styles. C. Maintaining one rigid teaching method. D. Focusing exclusively on visual aids. 19. A notary's seal becomes illegible on a document. The notary should A. Write their information by hand next to it. Affix the seal again in a clear space. C. Have the document resigned and notarized again with a clear seal impression. D. Continue using the illegible seal. 20. Which assessment technique provides the best feedback for improving notary student performance? A. Pass-fail grading only. B. Formative assessments with detailed feedback throughout training. C. Single final examination. D. Peer grading without instructor input. 21. Under Wyoming law, can a notary notarize their own signature? Yes, if properly documented. B. Yes, with witness present. C. No, this is prohibited. D. Only for personal documents. 22. When creating learning objectives for notary curriculum, they should be A. Vague to allow flexibility. B. Specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. C. Focused only on memorization. D. Identical for all learners, regardless of background. 23. What is required when a signer is physically unable to sign a document? A. The notary may sign for them. B. A family member may sign for them. C. The signer may direct another person to sign in their presence, which must be noted. D. The document cannot be notarized. 24. Which mentoring technique best supports knowledge retention in notary students? A. Spaced repetition with periodic review of key concepts. B. One-time intensive training session. C. Reading assignments without discussion. D. Memorization without practical application. 25. Wyoming notaries must report a change of address to the Secretary of State within A's. B. 30 days. 60 days. D. 90 days. 26. When evaluating a curriculum's effectiveness, which data source is most valuable? A. Only student satisfaction surveys. B. Multiple sources, including pass rates, performance data, and stakeholder feedback. C. Instructor opinions only. D. Textbook publisher recommendations. A signer appears to be under duress or coercion. The notary should A. Complete the notarization quickly. B. Refuse to notarize and may need to report concerns. C. Ask the accompanying person to leave, then proceed. D. Notarize, but note concerns in journal only. 28. Which communication barrier is most common when training notaries from diverse backgrounds? A. Language and cultural differences requiring adapted instruction methods. B. Age differences. C. Educational background. Geographic location. 29. How should a Wyoming notary store their official seal? A. In a shared office space for accessibility. B. In their personal vehicle. C. Under the notary's exclusive control and secured from unauthorized use. D, with their supervisor. 30. In curriculum sequencing, notary training content should be organized. A, alphabetically by topic. B, from simple to complex, building foundational knowledge first. C, randomly to maintain interest. D, based solely on statutory order. 31. What must a notary do if their seal is lost or stolen? A, order a replacement immediately. B, notify the Secretary of State promptly. C, continue working without a seal temporarily. D, borrow another notary's seal. 32. Which evaluation method best measures a notary student's ability to apply knowledge in real situations? A, true-false questions. B, scenario-based simulations and case studies. C, vocabulary matching. D, lecture attendance. 33. Can a Wyoming notary certify copies of documents? A, yes, for all documents. B, yes, but only for specific documents as permitted by law. C, no, this is never permitted. D, only for birth certificates. 34. When providing corrective feedback to a mentee, the mentor should A, focus on personal characteristics. Be specific about behaviors, focus on improvement, and offer solutions. C, compare them negatively to others. D, wait until certification exam failure. 35. A notary's commission is revoked. They must surrender their official seal and journal to A, local law enforcement. B, the Secretary of State. C, their employer. D, a nearby notary. 36. Which principle of instructional design is most critical for notary education? A, entertainment value. B, alignment between objectives, instruction, and assessment. C, minimal student participation. D, avoiding practical exercises. 37. When may a Wyoming notary use an electronic notarization? A, never. Wyoming doesn't allow it. B, anytime they prefer. C, only if properly commissioned and following electronic notarization laws. D, only for out-of-state documents.